Over the last 6 years, I've paid Russell Brunson over $50,000. And yes, I know how that sounds. And I don't say this to really impress you. The reason why I say it is because when I first found Russell, I didn't have any money. I really didn't have any skills or even some confidence. I was just starting out in business. I was pretty much just a normal kid just trying to figure out life. Back then, I was doing what everyone told you to do. Go to school, get good grades, get a job, work for 40 years and retire when you're older, and then maybe one day you get to enjoy life. But even as a teenager, that felt off to me. I didn't want to wait my whole life to finally be happy. I wanted to see how we can achieve freedom already. That's when I started to watch videos online. I started to learn how to make money online, and I saw a whole other world that was hidden to me. A world where people build businesses, where you can create your own path and where you can wake up to a life that you actually like. But I had one big problem. There was so much information out there, a lot of videos, gurus, and different opinions. And to be honest, I felt pretty lost. I wanted something simple. I wanted a clear path, a step-by-step plan to follow. Like, what do I do first, and then next, and then next? And that's when I found Russell and ClickFunnels, and that's what they gave me. They gave me structure, they gave me a real system. And before I break down exactly what I did, I want to tell you something, because if you miss this, then you really missed the whole point. Most people think that success is about finding some perfect trick or hack, the perfect funnel, the perfect script, the perfect product. And it's not that. That's not what changed my life. What changed my life was learning this, that if you just stayed consistent and if you don't quit, you'll eventually win. Because just like in the funnel world, you keep testing, you keep adjusting, and you keep getting better. That's what we call split testing. Now, it doesn't mean that you just try one thing and it's going to work. You have to keep on trying and trying and trying, and things will get better. And while other people might tell you to give up because they don't understand it, you got to keep going because you know this is what you truly want. So this video isn't just about what I've learned from Russell. It's also about what that has given me to just stay in the game and keep going even when things are tough. And what I want to show you is not just to throw out a big number and say that I've spent $50,000, because I have, but over the years, I've spent so much money. I spent $10,000 on the funnel builder coaching and certification that Russell has. I've spent money on ClickFunnels, the software itself, for about 6 years. And, depending on the plan, that could be like $1,000 to $3,000. And I went to Funnel Hacking Live 4 times, which is an in-person event that they do, which is, roughly about $1,000 and counting, not even counting the travel. But the biggest one was the 2 Comma Club X coaching program, which was $30,000. And, there was also some like smaller things, courses, trainings, all the books that Russell has and other events, but it definitely adds up. Now, I'm going to walk you through each of those investments and what I learned from each one of them, because each one of them really led up to the next and they added on each other. So each one of them have taught me a valuable lesson, and that's why I want to share with you. Because the first big leap for me was spending $10,000 on the funnel builder coaching and certification program. See, when I joined the program, I really didn't feel like an expert in the whole funnel building world. I felt like an outsider. I wanted to be the guy behind the scenes because I was a little scared to like be in camera. I was just like, oh, let me just build stuff and work quietly. But the hard truth is, you don't get clients by hiding. And that's what scared me. I was thinking, who am I to help someone? Why would anyone pay me? And what if I mess it up? Then the program started, and it wasn't just lessons. They gave me clear structure. They gave me a path to follow, a clear way to practice, and a clear way to build real skills, which could help me build my confidence. But here's what happened that changed everything. Only 3 days after joining and following the system, I got my first paying client. They paid me $1,000 on the spot and $1,000 every single month after that for about 7 months. Now, let me just slow down here for a second, because that might not sound huge to some people, and especially where I'm at now, I can understand that that might not be a lot. But for me at the time, it was massive. It wasn't just about the money. It was proof. Proof that this actually worked. Proof that, the first time I could finally say that I could do this, I could help someone, I can get paid for a skill that I have. And once you get that first taste of proof, something changes inside of you. You stand taller, you talk different, and you really stop seeing yourself as someone who wants to achieve something and someone who's actually doing it. you start to see yourself as someone who's actually building something. So over time, I kept going, I kept building, I kept learning, and I kept putting in the reps. And then came another big moment because not only did I help my first few clients make money, but me, I also made $100,000 myself. And then I was able to get recognized because in this program, when you make your first $100,000 with funnel building, you actually get an award and you get to walk on stage, meet Russell, and take a picture, which was crazy because the stage moment mattered more than you think. Because before that, I felt like I had to really convince people to work with me. And after that, I really didn't feel like I had to convince anyone because, I had a story, I had proof, I had results, and that changed how people looked at me. But more importantly, it changed how I looked at myself. From that, I really realized that yes, skills matter, but the real win was the identity that you gave yourself. When you get results, you stop trying to sound confident and you actually become confident. And confidence comes from the actions, not just watching a bunch of videos. So after I got that certification, I still needed the tool to actually build and launch things. So for the next few years, I still kept paying for ClickFunnels and using it depending on, the plan. Like I said, it was, $1,000 to $3,000 a year. And ClickFunnels was the tool that started it all for me, the tool that I used to turn my skill into real actionable work. And I started working my way up and getting results for clients. And I learned a lot along the way. And here's the thing that nobody tells you. When you start using a new tool, at first you're going to be like, oh, this tool is so difficult. And you'll say things like, it doesn't work, it's broken, it's too hard. And, honestly, sometimes you're definitely going to feel it. But most of the time, it's not the tool, especially with all this AI stuff coming out. You just need the practice, the reps, and everything. It's not your fault. It's part of the learning process. But building funnels, it's not magic. It's just putting in reps. It's building pages, testing headlines, fixing broken links, and learning what makes people click. There's an element of psychology that's really deep in this. Sometimes things might be boring. Sometimes you're doing things over and over again. And sometimes I would just sit on my computer and think like, why is this not converting? Why isn't anyone booking? Why did I spend my money on this and nothing's working? But you see, I would change one thing. I would test a new page, a new offer, a new message, a new follow-up sequence, and slowly things would start getting better. Not overnight, but step by step by running split tests. That's also when I started to help a lot more clients more seriously. And over the past few years, I've generated clients a little bit over $2 million in results. Not because I was perfect, but because I stayed consistent. So all this to say that, it's not about the tools itself that's going to help you. It's about you actually doing the execution. There's always new tools coming out and the tools are very powerful. But if you just don't go out there and start taking the action, then you're not actually going to get the results that you want. But here's the thing. The good thing that ClickFunnels gave me is that they gave me a community. So because of that, Russell had this live event called Funnel Live, and the tickets were about to sell out and they're like $1,000 each. And I went for my first time. And I want you to picture this. Imagine you walk into an event and everything is branded. There's lights, screens everywhere, music, a crowd of people who all believe that, they are there to build something powerful. And then it hits you. You're not alone in this. Like, you actually have people around you, because building this can feel lonely. Most people around you in your everyday life, they don't get it. They might even think you're crazy. But when you're in that room, you feel normal again, and in a good way, because sometimes I don't like saying that I'm normal. And here's the part that people miss out. Funnel Hacking Live wasn't just about learning. You can learn online. It was about the energy, and it was about the focus. And most importantly, it was about the momentum that it gave me. Because when you have an event on the calendar and you're running towards something and you're doing the stuff to get there, you have a deadline. So I wanted to make sure that I was somewhere when I got there, but also afterwards, you got to keep going because you learn so much stuff, you meet some amazing people, and that event lights the fire in you again. And it reminds you that, this is possible. There's people doing this. And it gave me exposure, conversations with people I didn't know, building connections with people that can last a lifetime. You meet people in the halls, in lines, at random tables, at lunch, maybe even in the bathroom. And, small talk can turn into a new friend, a new idea, a new chance, partners. And, it keeps you hungry because you see these people that are winning and you think, if they can do it, why not me? They're all here learning the exact same lessons as you are. These events aren't just about information, it's fuel to keep going, which is why I make it my goal to keep going to events like this and meeting other people that are on the same mission as me. And 1 year at Funnel Hacking Live, that's where I learned about the 2 Comma Club X coaching program. And at first, I'll be honest, the first year I went, I was like, $30,000, that's a lot. I definitely cannot do it. The next year, I still was struggling to do it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put it on my credit cards. Not that I'm recommending that, but I did it. I had still some debt from the last program. I was not in the perfect place, but I knew that it was the right choice for me. I told myself, like I said, next year I'm doing it. But then I went through, I joined the program, said yes anyways. And, I remember the feeling because I was sitting there and the people next to me were like, even them, they were like thinking, are you crazy? Like, this is insane. And yeah, it felt heavy. It felt scary because I knew what would happen when I get home. People would look at me like I lost my mind when I told them that I spent $30,000 on this program. And that's exactly what happened. The people around me, they didn't understand. Like, they were like, why would you do such a thing? You're still struggling and you're putting yourself even deeper in a hole. And it makes sense. It might sound insane. And to be honest, part of me agreed that, they were saying the truth because I wasn't, living my dream life yet. And at the same place, I went to the event splitting a room with like 3 or 4 people because I really couldn't afford it. So imagine that, sitting in a room, splitting your hotel, and then turning around and spending $30,000 on a program. But even though it sounds wild, I knew that I needed to do it. I believed deep down that it was the right choice for me. And I believed that it could change my life. And at first, I valued the tactics from the program. New funnels, new strategies, new secrets. And yes, the teaching was great. But the real value was something else. It was having access to the room and the people that were in there. Because everybody there paid big money to be there. $30,000 a year. That means that they were actually serious in what they were doing. They were actually builders. And I was probably the brokest person in the room. But as they say, that you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to be in rooms where you're not the best. That way, you're forced to grow. And here's the honest part. For the first few months, I honestly wasted my time. I showed up to the calls every single day, and sometimes more than one time a day, and I would always be there. I was soaking in all the information, but I wasn't implementing. You see, I thought that the power was in the information, but the power was actually in the implementation of the information. You see, learning feels good. Action can be difficult. And then I saw something. Other people who were joining were getting results faster than I was. Obviously, because they were taking action. And I realized that even though these people are not smarter than me, they were moving faster than me. They made decisions. And decisions is to cut off all other options. They took action. They started taking the work. And that's when I know that I had to change. And from there, I stopped trying to learn everything and just started doing work. And from there, I got a client. I started helping them with the things that I had been learning. And over time, my results started stacking up. And that's why over the next few years, I helped my clients generate a little bit over $2 million. And while I was building that, I was also building relationships with people inside the program. Because the biggest lesson that I learned from this is that people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. That's it. People will not buy from you if they don't know, like, and trust you. That's the name of the game. A strong network really can change your life because when people trust you, opportunities, they open up to you. That's why you have your favorite people online that you will buy anything they come out. And here's the thing. From there, I was invited to a private mastermind in Mexico with Russell Brunson's Inner Circle. And unfortunately, I couldn't attend, although I wish I could have. It showed me that I was getting closer. Not just because I watched more videos, but because I stayed in the game long enough to become a real person in that world. People would actually know my name, and it allowed me to actually be seen in that world. It was probably the best investment that I've ever made because it opened up a whole new world for me. Because the truth is that the new name of the game is trust. Trust is the real currency that you have to stack on. So here's the point. You don't need to spend $50,000 to change your life like I did, but what you do need to do is a couple things. Number one, you need to stay consistent. Number two, you need to don't quit. Number three, You need to keep testing and improving. If you're a creator, coach, or founder, and you want help turning your audience into a real business, then me, my team, we can help you do this. We don't just help you build the system, we help you turn your audience into paid clients. So if you want to see what this could look like for you, click the first link in the description so we can help to map out your next steps and we can help take you to where you want to be.